2 days after my fiancée got her bridal shower gifts, I found a note in her purse. It wasn't addressed to me. It ended with, "I'll marry him, but I'll always love you." I didn't confront her, just sent one package. By morning, her maid of honor was gone, and so was her engagement ring. The champagne glasses still sat in the sink from Rachel's bridal shower, their crystal surfaces catching the morning light as I loaded the dishwasher. 37 women had filled our house 2 days ago, their laughter echoing through every room as my fiancé unwrapped gift after gift. Monogram towels, crystal stemware, a complete set of bone china that would grace our future dinner table. The joy on Rachel's face had been infectious as she held up each present, thanking friends and family for their generosity toward our upcoming marriage. The house felt eerily quiet now, a stark contrast to the celebration that had consumed our weekend. Rachel had gone upstairs for her evening shower while I finished cleaning the remnants of wrapping paper and ribbon from the hardwood floors. Her black leather purse sat on the coffee table where she had dropped it after work, its contents spilling slightly from the impact. Lip gloss, car keys, her wallet, and a folded piece of cream-colored paper had scattered across the mahogany surface. I gathered her belongings methodically, preparing to return them to her purse before she finished her shower. The paper felt different from ordinary notebook pages, heavier, more expensive. Curiosity overtook propriety as I unfolded what appeared to be a handwritten letter. The elegant script was unfamiliar, definitely feminine, and addressed to someone the author clearly loved deeply. My heart hammered against my chest as I read words that would shatter my world completely. The letter spoke of stolen moments in hotel rooms, passionate encounters that defied logic and morality, and promises of a future together that had nothing to do with wedding vows or marriage certificates. References to meeting times and locations painted a picture of systematic deception that had been occurring right under my nose. The most devastating revelation came in the final paragraph, where the author confessed her true intentions. She would go through with marrying me, but her heart would always belong to someone else. The signature was simply A, followed by a small heart drawn in purple ink. My legs gave out beneath me as the implications crashed over my consciousness like tsunami waves. The woman upstairs, humming wedding songs while she prepared for bed, had been living a complete lie for months. Every kiss, every intimate moment, every conversation about our future together had been contaminated by her secret affair with someone whose identity was becoming increasingly clear. Andrea Patterson, Rachel's maid of honor since college, her closest confidant, the woman who had helped plan every detail of our wedding ceremony. The timeline began reconstructing itself in my mind with horrifying clarity. Andrea's recent behavior made perfect sense now. Her awkward silences during dinner parties, her tendency to avoid eye contact when discussing wedding plans, her habit of leaving early from social gatherings where she would normally stay late. The woman I had trusted to stand beside my bride at our altar had been systematically destroying our relationship while pretending to celebrate it. Water continued running in the upstairs bathroom as I sat motionless on the living room floor, staring at evidence of betrayal so profound it defied comprehension. Rachel continued singing wedding songs, completely unaware that her secret had been discovered by accident. The letter felt like fire in my hands, its words burning deeper into my memory with each reading. 8 years of relationship, 2 years of engagement, thousands of dollars spent on wedding preparations, and it all meant nothing to the woman I had planned to spend my life with. The most sickening realization was the calculated nature of her deception. This was not a moment of weakness or confusion about her feelings. She had written down her intention to marry me while maintaining her affair, treating our marriage like a business arrangement while her real emotional investment lay elsewhere. The woman I loved had been planning to use me as a cover for her true relationship, condemning me to a lifetime of unknowing betrayal. Time seemed suspended as I processed the magnitude of what I had discovered. The sound of the shower finally stopped, followed by Rachel's footsteps across the upstairs hallway. I quickly refolded the letter and placed it exactly where I had found it, returning to my cleaning routine as if nothing had happened. When she appeared at the top of the stairs in her bathrobe, hair wrapped in a towel, she smiled at me with the same loving expression that had fooled me for months. My performance had to be perfect. I smiled back, asked about her day, and continued loading the dishwasher while my mind raced through possibilities and consequences. The woman I had planned to marry in 3 weeks was a stranger, someone capable of deception so complete that I questioned every moment of our relationship. The letter in her purse was just the beginning of what I suspected would be a much larger web of lies and betrayal. Sleep became impossible after discovering Rachel's letter. While she lay peacefully beside me, completely unaware that her secret had been exposed, I began the most important investigation of my life. Her phone, normally guarded like classified information, sat charging on her nightstand just inches from my reach. At precisely 2 a.m., when her breathing indicated deep sleep, I carefully lifted the device and began exploring its hidden contents. The text messaging application revealed a folder marked with an innocent-looking flower emoji that contained 8 months of explicit conversations between Rachel and Andrea. Their communication pattern showed systematic coordination of meeting times, hotel reservations, and elaborate alibis designed to conceal their affair from both me and Andrea's husband Michael. The most disturbing aspect was their casual discussion of my work schedule, using my business trips as opportunities for extended romantic getaways. Bank records told an equally damaging story. Rachel had been making regular cash withdrawals from our joint wedding account, small amounts that would not attract attention but totaled nearly $3,000 over 6 months. These withdrawals corresponded perfectly with charges on Andrea's credit card for hotel rooms at various locations throughout the city. They had been funding their affair with money that friends and family had contributed toward our wedding expenses. Phone records revealed communication patterns that made my stomach turn. The longest conversations between Rachel and Andrea occurred immediately after intimate moments between Rachel and me, or following significant wedding planning sessions. They would talk for hours, sometimes until sunrise, while I slept unknowingly beside my cheating fiancé. The frequency of their calls had actually increased as our wedding date approached, suggesting they were planning something beyond simple infidelity. Security footage from the Marriott downtown, obtained through a private investigator contact I had cultivated during my years in corporate security, showed them entering the hotel together on 15 separate occasions over the past 6 months. The timestamps matched exactly with nights when Rachel claimed to be working late or attending various social events. Their body language in the footage left no doubt about the nature of their relationship or the passion they shared. Credit card records revealed additional evidence of their systematic deception. Andrea had purchased gifts for Rachel that I had never seen, expensive jewelry and clothing that never made it home to our house. Restaurant charges showed romantic dinners at upscale establishments where they could dine without fear of recognition by mutual friends. The paper trail painted a picture of a complete parallel relationship that had been thriving while I planned our wedding. Email communications discovered on Rachel's laptop revealed the most disturbing information. They had been planning for contingencies, discussing how to handle discovery of their affair and whether Rachel should proceed with the wedding. Andrea had encouraged Rachel to marry me, arguing that it would provide perfect cover for their continued relationship. The calculated nature of their planning showed this was not a crime of passion, but a carefully orchestrated campaign of deception. Social media analysis revealed subtle signals they had been sending each other publicly, likes on specific photos, comments with hidden meanings, and shared activities that I had interpreted as innocent friendship. The entire scope of their communication network had been hiding in plain sight, while I remained completely oblivious to the true nature of their relationship. Every night for a week, I spent hours documenting evidence while Rachel slept peacefully beside me. My anger evolved into cold determination as I realized the extent of their betrayal. They had not simply had an affair. They had constructed an elaborate alternate reality where I served as an unwitting accomplice to my own humiliation. The meticulous nature of their planning demanded an equally systematic response. The detective work became consuming, but I maintained perfect composure during daylight hours. Rachel noticed nothing unusual about my behavior as we continued planning wedding details that I knew would never become reality. Every conversation about our future together felt like participating in an elaborate theater production where only I knew the true script. Confronting Rachel directly would accomplish nothing beyond temporary satisfaction. She was skilled at manipulation, capable of crafting explanations that might temporarily confuse the situation or delay inevitable consequences. Instead, I chose a surgical approach that would expose their affair to the person most deserving of the truth. Michael Patterson, Andrea's husband of 4 years and my former friend. Michael had always been genuinely kind during social gatherings, treating me with respect and friendship while completely unaware that his wife was systematically destroying 2 marriages simultaneously. He deserved to know the truth about the woman sharing his bed and bank account, just as I deserved to know the truth about my fiancée. Justice demanded that both betrayed parties have access to the same devastating information. The package I assembled over the following week was comprehensive and irrefutable. Every text message between Rachel and Andrea was printed and organized chronologically, showing the evolution of their affair from initial attraction through systematic planning of deception. Hotel receipts, bank withdrawal records, and credit card statements were included with highlighting to emphasize the financial aspects of their betrayal. Security camera footage was burned onto a DVD with timestamps clearly marked for easy reference. The centerpiece of the package was Rachel's original love letter, carefully photographed and printed on high-quality paper to preserve its impact. Additional notes and cards I had discovered hidden throughout our house during my investigation were included as supporting evidence. Phone records showing call frequency and duration patterns were organized into charts that made their communication timeline impossible to deny or explain away. A detailed written timeline accompanied all physical evidence, documenting dates, times, and locations of their meetings with cross-references to supporting documentation. The narrative was clinical and factual, allowing the evidence to speak without emotional commentary that might diminish its credibility. Michael would need facts, not opinions, to make decisions about his marriage and future. I mailed the package to Michael's office on Thursday morning, timing delivery for Friday afternoon when Andrea would be at her weekly yoga class and unable to intercept potentially damaging mail. The timing was crucial because Rachel had planned to spend Friday evening with Andrea, supposedly finalizing wedding arrangements, but actually continuing their affair at their usual downtown hotel location. The psychological impact of receiving such evidence at his workplace would be significant, but private offices provided the security and privacy Michael would need to process devastating information without public scrutiny. His secretary would simply place the unmarked package on his desk, where he would open it expecting routine business correspondence instead of evidence that would destroy his marriage. Friday evening approached with Rachel preparing for her fake wedding planning session while I waited at home, knowing that Michael was likely discovering his wife's infidelity at that precise moment. The anticipation was both terrifying and exhilarating as I realized there would be no reversing what I had set in motion. The carefully constructed house of lies that Rachel and Andrea had built was about to collapse completely. My phone remained silent throughout the evening, but I could almost feel shockwaves rippling through their secret world as Michael processed the evidence and began confronting Andrea with irrefutable proof of her betrayal. The satisfaction of knowing that justice was being served helped calm my nerves as I waited for the inevitable explosion that would follow. By 9 p.m., my phone finally rang with Rachel's number appearing on the display. Her voice was frantic and nearly incoherent as she screamed that something terrible had happened to Andrea's marriage. Michael had somehow discovered their affair and was demanding immediate divorce. Andrea was packing her belongings and leaving the city that very night, abandoning everything rather than face the consequences of her actions. Rachel never suspected that I was the architect of the destruction raining down on both of them. She sought comfort from the very person who had orchestrated her downfall, while remaining completely oblivious to my role in exposing their systematic deception and betrayal. Rachel burst through our front door at midnight, her face streaked with tears and her left hand conspicuously bare of the engagement ring I had placed there 18 months earlier. Her hysteria was genuine and complete as she collapsed onto our sofa, sobbing about the destruction of her secret world. Andrea had fled the city within hours of Michael confronting her with evidence of their affair, leaving behind her job, her marriage, and apparently her courage to face consequences. The story Rachel told me painted Andrea as the primary victim of some unknown enemy who had discovered their secret and destroyed both their lives out of pure maliciousness. She claimed that someone must have been following them or monitoring their communications, never suspecting that the evidence had come from sources much closer to home. The irony was perfect as she sought comfort from the very person who had systematically documented and exposed every aspect of their betrayal. Michael had immediately filed for divorce and frozen all joint assets, leaving Andrea with access to nothing beyond the clothes she could pack in a single suitcase. The woman who had helped destroy my relationship had lost everything in a matter of hours, fleeing to an uncertain future while her husband began legal proceedings that would strip her of any claim to their shared property or financial security. Rachel's confession poured out through tears and desperate justifications. She swore that her affair with Andrea was over, that it had been a mistake born of confusion about her sexuality, and that marriage to me was what she truly wanted for her future. Every word felt like another manipulation designed to salvage what remained of her carefully planned life. She claimed that Andrea had seduced her, that she had been vulnerable and confused, and that their relationship had meant nothing compared to what we shared together. I let her believe that I was learning about the affair for the first time, that I was willing to work through this betrayal if she was completely honest about everything that had happened. She eagerly accepted this lifeline, providing additional details about their relationship that only served to confirm the accuracy of my investigation. For 3 days, I maintained this charade while secretly consulting with attorneys and financial advisors to protect my assets. The performance required every ounce of self-control I possessed, but the satisfaction of knowing that justice was being served kept me focused on the endgame. Rachel scheduled counseling appointments and began planning how we would rebuild trust in our relationship. She seemed genuinely relieved that I was willing to forgive her betrayal and proceed with our marriage plans, though perhaps on a delayed timeline to allow for healing. Legal consultations revealed that our financial entanglements were relatively simple to dissolve since the house belonged entirely to me, purchased before our relationship began. Most wedding expenses had been paid from my personal accounts, and the joint account contained primarily gifts from friends and family that could be returned along with unused deposits. Her name appeared on no significant assets that would complicate separation proceedings. On Tuesday morning, exactly 1 week after mailing the evidence package to Michael, I presented Rachel with annulment papers and a 30-day eviction notice. Her shock was genuine and complete as she realized that I had orchestrated everything she had experienced over the past week. The revelation that I had known about her betrayal for weeks, that I had methodically gathered evidence and planned her destruction, left her speechless for the first time since I had known her. The eviction notice was legally sound and immediately enforceable. She had no claim to the house or its contents beyond personal belongings she had brought into our relationship. Her name on the joint bank account would be removed immediately, and her access to my health insurance and credit cards would terminate within days. The systematic dismantling of our shared life proceeded as methodically as my investigation had been conducted. Rachel's attempts at anger and indignation fell flat when confronted with evidence of her own systematic deception. She could not claim moral high ground after months of calculated betrayal, nor could she argue that my response was disproportionate to her actions. The consequences she faced were direct results of choices she had made freely and repeatedly over 8 months of sustained infidelity. Rachel's exodus from our shared life was swift and devastating. Within 2 weeks, she had moved in with her sister in another state. Unable to secure local employment after word of the affair spread through our social circles like wildfire. The wedding venue, caterer, photographer, and florist retained their deposits according to contract terms, leaving her financially responsible for thousands of dollars in cancellation fees. Her family, humiliated by the public nature of her betrayal, cut off all financial support and refused to acknowledge her existence at family gatherings. Andrea's disappearance became the subject of intense speculation throughout our social network. Michael hired private investigators to locate her for divorce proceedings, eventually tracking her to a small apartment in Portland where she worked as a server in a coffee shop. Her marketing career, built over 15 years of professional development, was effectively destroyed by the scandal that followed her across state lines. Former colleagues and industry contacts distanced themselves from her toxic reputation. The divorce proceedings Michael pursued were merciless and comprehensive. Andrea's abandonment of the marriage and her infidelity provided grounds for fault-based divorce that awarded Michael everything. Their house, both vehicles, retirement accounts, and shared business investments all remained under his control. Legal fees and court costs were assigned to Andrea, creating debts she could never realistically repay on a server's salary. Michael and I developed an unexpected friendship based on our shared experience of betrayal and recovery. He thanked me repeatedly for providing evidence that allowed him to escape his marriage before children or additional financial complications made separation more difficult. His gratitude was genuine and helped validate my decision to expose the affair rather than simply ending my own relationship quietly. The investigation skills I developed during those sleepless nights led to a career change that proved both financially rewarding and personally satisfying. My transition into private investigation work, specializing in marital infidelity cases, utilized both my corporate security background and my newfound expertise in systematic evidence gathering. The irony was not lost on me as I helped other betrayed spouses uncover the truth about their cheating partners using the same methodical approach that had exposed Rachel and Andrea. Professional success in my new career exceeded all expectations. Word-of-mouth referrals from satisfied clients created steady demand for my services, and my systematic approach to gathering irrefutable evidence produced results that other investigators often failed to achieve. The personal experience of betrayal provided insights into client psychology that made me more effective at managing the emotional aspects of infidelity investigations. 6 months after Rachel's departure, I received a single text message from an unknown number that simply stated, "You destroyed everything." I never responded to the message, knowing that justice had been served and that the consequences both women faced were direct results of their own choices and actions. The note that had revealed their betrayal had ultimately become the instrument of their complete and total destruction. Legal settlements eventually provided some financial recovery from the wreckage of our planned marriage. Rachel was held responsible for her portion of wedding expenses and deposits that could not be recovered. Andrea's financial obligations from her divorce proceedings ensured that both women would face years of economic hardship as consequences of their deception. The systematic nature of their betrayal had created systematic consequences that would follow them indefinitely. The story of their affair and its discovery became a cautionary tale within our social circles, serving as a reminder that deception and betrayal ultimately carry consequences that extend far beyond the immediate participants. Rachel and Andrea's relationship did not survive the destruction of their separate lives, ending as abruptly as it had been exposed. The love they claimed to share proved insufficient to sustain them through the consequences of their choices. My own recovery was gradual but complete. The skills I had developed as an investigator served me well in rebuilding my personal life, allowing me to approach future relationships with wisdom gained through painful experience. The betrayal that had threatened to destroy my future ultimately became the foundation for a more successful and fulfilling career than I had ever imagined possible. Years later, the memory of finding that letter still produces a complex mixture of pain and gratitude. The discovery was devastating, but it prevented a lifetime of unknowing betrayal and allowed me to build a new life based on truth rather than deception. Justice was served, consequences were faced, and the systematic nature of their betrayal was met with equally systematic exposure and retribution. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.